Hello, fiber fans, friends and followers. Welcome to the PandemicKnittr channel. I am here to talk about all the yarny, fun things that I've gotten into this last couple of weeks. I will be announcing the winner of the Queen Sandy bag from last time's prompt. I will also be announcing a new prompt for the next Queen Sandy bag, because I want to be giving that away before the holidays so that you can enjoy it as part of your holiday, whoever the winner happens to be. I have not yet drawn for that, so probably what I'll do is I will, when I'm finished recording the whole thing, I will go ahead and put together all the names. I haven't done that yet. Usually I do that before I start recording, but today it was a little busy. My daughter was here. We celebrated Thanksgiving together, and it was a great time. I enjoyed spending time with my family, and I'm fortunate enough to have had all my kids with me on Thanksgiving Day. So I'm very happy about that. So here's what I think I'll do. I think I will go ahead and insert here the announcement of the Queen Sandy bag winner from last episode. And as I go on, I will come up with a prompt somehow, somewhere in this episode. So here's the Queen Sandy bag winner from last time. Okay, here is my drawing. Future me, which is really past me, wrote all these names down while I was reading comments. And so I went through the comments again and double checked, and I got all the names, and I just now pulling one out of the thing. And Eileen, you win. Eileen, what is your full name on here? Let's see. Eileen K64. You are the winner of the Queen Sandy bag. So Eileen, please get in touch with me. I will put my information on the screen for you to see. PandemicKnittr@gmail.com is probably the easiest place. So let me know which one you want. Congratulations to the winner. If you would please make sure to email me your information if you're someone who I have not already gotten that from. And I will get that out to you as soon as possible. Winners from the past know that I'm not exactly thoroughly prompt with this, but this time I want to be more prompt because it is the holidays and I want to get you your gift in order to enjoy for the holidays. So let me just quickly show which bags I have left. We have knitting sayings, sheep that look like balls of yarn, and polka dot sheep. So I don't know how blurry those were on the screen, but there are 3 different bags left, and I believe I have 2 of each of those. So I'm kind of surprised that these are some of the last ones, because these definitely are some of the more popular ones from my first showing of them. Anyhow, today I'm wearing my Christmas sweater, my only fully knit Christmas sweater that I have yet made. I will go ahead and insert a little twirl that I did with it on earlier. I did bring up some notes about what the yarn is and everything. The pattern is Fallow by Anne Michelle Phelan, and the yarn is Maelstrom Fiber Arts Zebra DK in the colorway Kiwi. And I believe that this is a discontinued colorway or a discontinued yarn. I'm not entirely sure. At the time, I believe I bought it on clearance, and I don't know if that meant we're not doing this anymore, or if that was just we're getting rid of what we have in order to make room for other things and we'll have more in the future, whatever. The brown is Nerdy Sheep Fiberworks DK. It's a 50-50 blend of wool and alpaca, and it is in the natural colorway of the animals. So that one is so fun. I have another sweater that I'm making in it, and I hope to get that going again. But don't we all have tons and tons of things that we want to do? So hard making choices. Anyhow, so while I'm at it, I have a project. Someone on Ravelry recently reached out to me to say, I remember you talking about a Christmas pattern that you had started to knit, which it's ridiculous to even say that I started to knit it. So this is living in isn't this just the most adorable bag? And it's huge. I believe this is, I don't want to say the wrong name, so I'm going to read before I actually say anything. But yes, it is Bags by Awesome Granny. And so I have this beautiful Christmassy themed yarn from Long Dog Yarns. I'm going to go ahead and pull it out. I have not seen a whole lot by her recently. I don't know if she is still dyeing. The colorway of this is poinsettia. I'm thinking maybe I haven't seen her because I just haven't been on Instagram as much. I just am not finding time to get on social media as much as I would like to, because I'd rather be knitting or relating to family and things like that. So I'm looking for what I have done of this. So the person who reached out to me couldn't find it on my Ravelry page, and that's because it's not there. I forgot to put it on my Ravelry page, and now I'm wondering if I twisted this. Okay, so this is the collar. That's as much as I've gotten done. This pattern is, I'm trying to see. Okay, good, it's not twisted. Okay, this is Hinterland by Jennifer Steingass. And it's not intended as a Christmas knit. If you look at hers, it does not have like a Christmas feel to it because it's colors that wouldn't say Christmas to anyone. So hers is done, you can see the trees, and I feel like these parts like down here look like ornaments. So I had intended to make this as a Christmas knit and really didn't get very far. I got as far as casting it on just to say that I've casted it on. And so I need to put this on my project page because it actually is a started project. And yeah, I had to go looking for this because I was really kind of surprised that I did not have that on my Ravelry page, because I like to put everything on my Ravelry page just so that I have a note of when I started it. No clue when I started it. And this, you guys, this is one of my complaints about Ravelry, because if I put a project on Ravelry, unless I add the start date, I have no record of when I added it into Ravelry. So I have to manually put the date on. I wish that it would like automatically say project added on such and such date, which doesn't necessarily mean that's the date that I cast it on. It could just mean this is when I added it to Ravelry. but at least that would give me a hint of when I started it. So anybody out there, like, if you have anything to do with Ravelry, I don't know where to send suggestions. I don't know how to do anything with that. Or if you want to make a new website, that's my suggestion to you. Have that as a feature on the site, because I really would like that. I don't know about you guys, but I think it would be great. So that's it for that one. I now am looking at a different set of show notes, because I pulled up my information about my sweater, and so now I've lost today's show notes, so I'm going back and finding that. Okay, so before I get into what I am working on, there's a couple of things that I wanted to mention that I had not mentioned previously. I have been talking about a cardigan that I've been working on by Locatelli. It is La Prairie, and I have been saying that I am planning to rip out the fronts because it is not reaching where I need it to in order to meet for the sleeves. So, under the arms, I guess is the right way to say that. So look at how tiny that is. Like, that just, I mean, it will reach under my arms, but just barely, and it's gonna pull. So the one thing that I did not mention the last time I talked about this is I have been wondering what went wrong with my process of this, and I found a needle in the bag, the only needle that I had in the bag with it when I went to look at it next, was a size smaller than the recommended size. So now I'm questioning, was I knitting with the wrong size needle? So that just adds to the list of, like, what do I do? How do I fix the problem I'm having with fit, with gauge, everything else? So yeah, that's still on the back burner. That one, it's a lighter sweater. You know, it would work to keep me warm on a winter's day over something else, but I prefer thicker sweaters, which is why I'm currently working on something of worsted weight yarn instead of a fingering weight. So the other thing that I wanted to mention, I add these into my show notes as personal notes to myself, but I had previously said something about how none of my coworkers noticed my lion's head top the last time I wore it, and nobody said anything at all. So this time I wore it again. I wore it with a turtleneck underneath, and one of my coworkers asked me how much I wanted for it. And I laughed, of course. She knew that I wasn't, like, looking to sell it. And she kept saying, how much? She was signing to me across a room. And there was another coworker who was there as a substitute, and she looked at me and she said, "Why are you laughing at her? She's asking you how much you want." And I was like, okay, she doesn't understand. She's here as a substitute. She doesn't know we have this ongoing relationship where she knows I'm not selling my things. But it was funny. It was interesting because I was all disappointed about it, and now I'm feeling better about it. You know, somebody at work finally commented on it and was saying, "I want it so much, I'll buy it off of you." So it was funny. Next thing I want to talk about is my works in progress. So I have the There and Back Again slippers that I have been working on. Now, I don't remember where I was the last time I talked to you guys, but I am almost finished with the toe. I feel like this is where I was the last time because I don't think I did anything on these. I had done the toe and then I undid the toe because I did it wrong. So I have one complete and I have one almost complete. So I don't know if I already talked about that, but there and back again is a pattern by somebody who doesn't put their name on it. Oh, there we go. Tania Barley. And I am doing it in Lion Brand yarn. And this is their Re-Tweed, which it's a very sturdy yarn and it's really good for this project. I would recommend this for this project. It's machine washable. The pattern suggests going down a needle size to do the I-cord bind off, but I pull really tight on my I-cord bind offs. So for me, I'm thinking on this next one that I finish, I'm going to use the same size needle because I like to pull tight on I-cord bind offs because I feel like that yarn going behind needs to be pulled tight in order to make it that loop. And that's just me. That's how I tension. There's fiber floating through the air, so I'm waving at it. So I'm loving this. I feel like these are slippers that I would wear. The ones I made are too big for me, so they're definitely going to be a gift for who I don't know. But I'm excited about these. And I'm really warm right now in this sweater. Holy cow. And it's not like I have like sunlight pouring in this room. It's a very overcast day. Dropped my yarn on the floor. So the thing that I have been almost exclusively, if not entirely exclusively working on, is my Letho cardigan. I was actually hoping to have this finished for this week's episode, but I didn't quite get there. So the last time I showed this, all I had was sleeves. So I still have sleeves. That's not always a given. I still have sleeves, thankfully. But I also have, now you knit this sideways. I'm trying to keep this needle on and trying to show it all at the same time. But so here is, I'm afraid to hold this up and lose the stitches. So this is the back of the cardigan. This is where you attach the two sides with a 3 needle bind off. So you can see that ridge that the 3 needle bind off makes in the purple. So that is a really fun thing to do. Can you see that ridge? There's the ridge. It's nice and close now. And then these, this is part of the collar right here. So you knit welts, which is, you do like 5 rows of garter stitch, or not garter, stockinette, and then you attach it 4 rows below. And so it's fun. It's a fun thing. It's the same thing here on the sleeve. And then I think next after that, I already did mosaic color work. Yes. So the mosaic color work is there, and then ridges. And then after this is going to be a big, like, I think 3-inch brioche collar. So I'm excited about that. On the bottom, I just started picking up stitches. Where's my needle? You guys can probably see it and I can't. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. I wanted to make sure both ends were visible because I'm afraid it's going to fall out. But I just started picking up stitches for the bottom 1x1 rib, which I thought the bottom was a brioche stitch too, like along the bottom hem, but it is not. So whatever, that'll be a 1x1 rib at the bottom, and that's a whole lot easier than brioche. I'm kind of considering, partially because I'm not sure if I have enough yarn, because I think I didn't consider the possibility of making it longer when I bought the yarn, and didn't factor in that I would need more yarn if I wanted to do that. So I bought the recommended amount of yarn without that whole consideration. So now I'm thinking maybe when I do the collar, I might do a 2-color brioche. So I think that would be kind of fun. Like, so from this edge, making sure the needle's not coming out. Okay, so this is the front right edge of the collar, which comes from the very bottom of the sweater all the way around. So I'm thinking if I did this in purple and green, came out with a 2-color brioche in there, I think that would be kind of cool. What do you guys think? Comment below. Let me know. What would you do? I have so much purple left because I got a whole ball of purple, and I hardly used any of it for that mosaic color work. So I still have all this purple left. And I have, of the green, in order to do my 1x1 rib at the bottom, I have this and this, plus I have one full ball left. So I think it could be enough. I'm just not entirely sure. So I don't want to get way into the brioche and then find out that I'm short of yarn in order to make it close in front. So that's kind of where I'm at, is like, what do I want to do? So we'll see. That is for future me to concern herself with, and we'll see where that goes. Okay, what else am I working on? I feel like I've got some notes here that say what I'm doing, and I can't find my cursor on the screen. Oh, there we go. I do have another work in progress. I showed it on last episode. I had just barely started. I had like one little row of crochet for a friend who wanted a scarf. It's called the Perfect Pockets Shawl by Sonja Hood, right? Not yourself out. So I left that in my room. I'll be right back. Okay, so this is what I've got so far. It is a very long piece of crochet, and here's the middle of the front. So I must be backwards then. So long piece of a crocheted something. Oh, my hook got stuck on it. So very long, very crocheted, bunch of half double crochets, and that's as far as I've gotten on that. I really have not put a whole lot of work into it. It was just one night I was like, I wanted to work on something while I was in bed, and I was thinking, I feel like crochet would be easier to work on in bed than knitting would be. So I went with that project. And that's all I'm working on right now, you guys. So, gosh, I didn't come up with a Queen Sandy prompt yet. what do I want to have as a prompt for the next Queen Sandy bag? How about hashtag holidays? Tell me, what traditions do you have that you and your family like to do, whether it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate? Or do you not celebrate holidays at all? Are you Jehovah's Witness and you don't do any kind of celebration? At least that's my understanding of Jehovah's Witness. I apologize if I'm getting that wrong, but I have a coworker now who is a Jehovah's Witness and says she does not celebrate birthdays, she doesn't celebrate Christmas, none of that. I don't know the reason behind all of that, but you know, if that's your way, that's your way. So hashtag holidays for the next Queen Sandy bag prompt, and I will be announcing the winner of that one on my next episode, which will be 2 weeks from now. So you have 2 weeks to comment, and I will be giving away another Queen Sandy bag. And now on to the comments. So I am going to take a look at what comments came in on my last episode and see what fun things there are to talk about. So on the last episode, I had a prompt for the Queen Sandy bag giveaway that was hashtag needles. I was talking about, I'm leaning over to get my papers to start writing down names for the Queen Sandy bag giveaway because I did not do that yet, and I will go ahead and write down everybody's names. This is like, I feel like this is sort of an anachronistic podcast because I've already inserted the drawing that I haven't done yet, and now I'm writing down names for the drawing that I've already shown earlier in the episode. Whoa. Anyhow, okay, here we go. So hashtag needles was the prompt for the last Queen Sandy bag. So a lot of people talked about needles, and almost exclusively my comments were about that. So Stephanie of Texas Peach Knits says, I've collected needles a little at a time over the years. Now I have a large, very mixed collection. My favorites are Knitter's Pride Zing fixed circulars. I'd really like to try the Zing DPNs next. I have not tried any Knitter's Pride needles at all. I think what happened for me is when I started watching all the YouTube podcasts in during the lockdowns, I started hearing a sort of a trend of people liked Chow Goose. So I knew that's what I needed to get because like everybody was praising Chow Goose. So I bought a set of the interchangeables, and I now have collected a bunch of the long ones. I like to use particularly long, what do you call them? Circular needles. The red lace needles. I like the 40-inch is typically what I use. So she says about the last project that I was talking about that's still in a Hobby Lobby bag, my scarf, it says, I think it's totally fair to ask a friend or family to cover the cost of yarn and pattern if you have the time and energy to make something they request. Sometimes I ask for twice the yarn cost so I can make something they want and have enough to buy yarn for a project I want for myself. Nobody's going to get rich making knitting to order. That's for sure, Stephanie. That is for sure. Penny of PJ Knits said, do it, Beth. take the time for you. Before I retired, I took the time off between Christmas and New Year's and designated the time for me and my knitting. It felt so good and refreshing, and I was ready to tackle going back to work. On a similar note, I always designated the 3 days after Thanksgiving as me days as well. No going out and shopping. Oh, now I got the read more thing. Just knitting. This stemmed from the many years where my job meant I had to be out in the stores very early, right after both holidays. Yeah. So on the last episode, I was talking about how stressed I was and should I just take those 2 weeks off that I have at winter break and just be like, forget the world, I'm knitting. And yeah, if you have not seen or heard of Penny of PJ Knits, she's got a YouTube channel as well. So I highly recommend you hop on over and watch her. I love her colorways. She's a fantastic knitter. Every episode she comes in with a different mug, kind of like showing her cup of coffee or whatever she's drinking. And I definitely like the advice that she has about how to make modifications to your knits and things like that. She's really good. So check her out, PJ Knits. And yes, I will take time for myself. I have been. So, Stephanie Benson says, I've trained myself to tuck a little note in the needle sleeve or slot telling me what pattern I'm using the needle on so I can find them. Wow. What a great suggestion. Like, when I saw that suggestion, I was like, why have I never thought of that? That makes perfect sense, because on my last episode, I don't know if I still have it here, I showed the empty needle thing that, I was like, I know I have this needle because here's the package it came in. So yeah, tuck a little note in the package saying, this is with my such and such project. And then you don't have to wonder anymore. You can just grab it. Sometimes what I've been doing is I've been putting the needle with the package and all into the project. But I like this even better because then I can have all the packages together in one place and know where to find every needle. So thank you for that suggestion, Stephanie. That's awesome. She goes on to say, took me a long time and much time searching for needles to establish this habit. It also necessitates putting the needles back in their place when you're finished with them. Yeah. Hope you find your 8s. I got new ones. Chowgos and Knitter's Pride interchangeable are my primary go-tos, and I have more than a few sets. I ordered my last set, the yellow Chowgos, from Around the Table Yarns. In a pinch, I try to get individual needles from our LYS, local yarn shop for those not in the know, but they're still only doing curbside pickup and have very limited hours. Really? There's local yarn shops that have limited hours still? Are we that deep in? I'm curious about that, because I would imagine that a person who is still that cautious about COVID must have personal health problems, because otherwise I would think that COVID now is not as strong and virulent as it once was, and people are not dying from it in the numbers that they once were. So, I mean, my heart goes out to the person who owns that yarn shop, because I feel like they must be scared in a way that I don't know if it's unwarranted fear, because it could be that they do have health problems, but can they not hire the help that they need? There's just like, there's so many layers to this that, wow. I mean, I hope everything is well with them. Anyhow, Knit, Pray, Crochet, another podcaster who I very much enjoy watching, and you should go check her out too. Lisa says, I love the modifications you did with it. Super cute. I believe she is talking about my Letho cardigan, because on my last episode, I talked about how instead of making a big, huge wrist, what do you call that? Hem, cuff, that's the word. I'm making a big, huge cuff. I made a more fitted cuff, and I expect this to be fantastic. Next comment comes from Inspired by Fiber, also known as Kathy. And she says, as far as needles go, I like Chowgu for most of my knitting. Licca for wood needles when I need to use wood. I like to knit my socks, mittens with metal double-pointed needles. So she's a DPN girl, and I'm making sure to write down her name. Inspired by Fiber. Okay. Because she also used the hashtag. So she says, I hope you keep the friend to friend for yourself. Looks good on you. Thank you, Kathy. Yep, deal with it later. As I've gotten older, I like to avoid conflict when I can. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard because some things really need to be dealt with, and it's really hard. Eileen says, I haven't gotten any new needles in quite a while, but I used to get most of them from Knit Picks. Once or twice ordered from Amazon when I needed them right away. Great story about the knitter audiologist. Yes, I have seen her again. The next time I saw her, she was wearing the So Faded by Andrea Mowry. So it was funny. She was at the copier and I was coming down the hall with my student, and I asked her if she was wearing a hand knit because she was wearing a cardigan, and she said, oh, she said, the outside or the inside? And I was like, oh, I didn't see the inside because her back was to me. And she said the inside is the So Faded by Andrea Mowry. And I was like, oh, okay. So it was funny that she was layered up. She had a cardigan and a sweater on. But I love it. I love that she's worn hand knits both times I've seen her. Next, Sharon says, my favorite needles are the Chowgu metal needles. Got my interchangeable set from Amazon and some individual fixed circulars from an Etsy shop, Handsome Fibers, which is where I order from. And Haya bamboo interchangeables. Can't remember where I got them, maybe Amazon. For other brands like Knitter's Pride, I like their wooden needles or commercial yarn. I like to buy from Wool and Company. Yeah, I like to buy from Wool and Company too. They're like the free shipping and the discounts on some of the yarn brands, the major yarn brands, are really nice. So Wool and Company is a good one to order from. So, all right, Sharon, got you in the drawing. Eileen, I got you too. Yarn Motivated Joyce Swenson says, I learned to knit a few years back, also entering you in the drawing. I learned to knit a few years back on straight needles after doing some research, jumped in the deep end, purchasing a Chowgu interchangeable set online. I've purchased some 9-inch fixed Chowgu for socks on Amazon, and a Knit Picks wood DPN set shortly thereafter. I haven't needed any more since. That's because I can't handle having more than 3 whips going at once. I wish. I'll agree with that. I like that idea, having 3 whips that I'm working on at a time, is a great idea. My personal problem with that is that I will have those 3 whips and then have hiccups in those 3 whips and decide I'm going to put that aside and deal with it later. So that's where it becomes a problem. That, you know, I think I feel overwhelmed with it because I have so many that I've just said, nah, later. That's for future me. I'm not going to worry about it right now. And then I cast on something new. So good for you, Joyce. I hope that you're managing that better than I have been able to. And I dropped my glasses on the floor. Next, Doris. I got you in the drawing, Doris. Says, Xiaogu needles are what I use, and I just bought some new cords at a yarn store, Woolly Minded in Corning, New York. So I've never heard of that store. I think when you mentioned it, I looked it up online to see if they have like an online presence. And if I recall correctly, now this was probably 2 weeks ago when you first wrote your comment, I don't think there was like an easy way to order from them. I think they're one that you would have to probably make special arrangements to order from. So I was curious to see, but I don't think they have like the easiest site to shop from online. Next up is Heidi. Got you in the drawing. I have to order 90% of my needles because the closest local yarn shop is 3 hours away. Wow, that's really far. And I like Wool & Company is an hour and 15 minutes drive from my house. And for me, that's too far away to drive. That's one of the closest. I do have one. Kenosha would probably be the closest local yarn shop that I have to myself, and that's about an hour away. So it's still like it's too much to want to drive that far. And I don't know if I'm spoiled by living in a suburb, and you know that's why everything is so close. I remember when I was a kid, my grandparents, we lived in Mundelein. So like anybody outside of this area has never heard of Mundelein. But so that's where I grew up, in Mundelein. And my grandparents used to be like, oh, I don't want to go all the way to Vernon Hills. Vernon Hills was like 15 minutes away. The mall was 15 minutes away in Vernon Hills. And I was always like, you think that's far? And so it makes me wonder, like, you always hear people in New York City talk about, you know, having to go to another borough, like it's leaving the country. And I wonder if it's that way, that is it really only a few minutes on the subway or by car or whatever? I have no idea. I've never visited New York City. I flew into LaGuardia Airport one time. I think it was LaGuardia. Anyway, so that's the closest I've been, which is really just the airport. And then friends of the family picked us up and drove us to Connecticut, where we stayed. But I don't know what it's like to travel through New York City, so I'm curious to know, like, is it really as bad as what New Yorkers talk about? So that's my whole reference for how far away things are. To say 3 hours away, you must live out in the boonies. So Heidi, I'm curious, where do you live, Heidi? What state? And I wrote your name down for the drawing. So I'm curious, where do you live? A part of me feels like I would really kind of love that, to be that far away from everything. And to, I kind of would like doing enough gardening that I could feed myself at least through the summer and maybe into the winter. And just, I could not, I definitely could not have animals that I would eat. That would not be, that just sounds awful to me, because they're your pets until they're your next meal. And I know people do it all the time. I know there are people who homestead and do that kind of thing. I just feel like that would be heartbreaking. Like, oh, today we're eating Milton. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Anyhow, that was a weird tangent I went on. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching me. I appreciate it. Oh, did I give you a hashtag for next time? Yes, I did. Holidays. So remember to comment below to be entered into the Queen Sandy bag drawing. And I will be giving that out on the episode that I published 2 weeks from now. I've actually been thinking about posting every week, just because I feel like I forget within that 2 weeks time what I've even talked about on my previous episode and whether or not I've mentioned the most recent things. I may or may not publish another episode next week, but I won't draw for the Queen Sandy bag until 2 weeks from now, which would be, I'm going to guess the first, I was going to look for my phone to see a calendar, but my phone is currently recording me, so I really can't see a calendar on that. Today's date is 11/25, so December 1st will be next Saturday, I believe. So December 8th, I would guess, is this following Saturday. So that's the date that I will be drawing for the Queen Sandy bag. If I'm correct about what the date is, I don't know. It's somewhere in that vicinity, and I apologize if my numbers are off by a day or two. So with all that said, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate all the comments, likes, subscribes I get, and my usual sign off. Remember to like, subscribe, survive, and thrive. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.